describing. What are you doing?
Now it's on. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. The name of the book is
Our Inner Conflicts.
by Dr.
Karen Horney.
Karen Horney, M.D.
Yes. Wouldn't that be like saying the same thing twice? Yes. Okay. Well, let's see. We are discussing the foundation of the book, what it is built upon, right?
Essentially, one of the crucial theses of this book is that most or everyone has some level of neurotic affect.
Now, when you say that, what do you mean?
That everyone has some level of neuroses in their own personality, and that what she's trying to do here is to root out what these tendencies are, to look at them, to talk about them, to say this is something, one level or another, everyone has some level of neuroses,
Well, let me
correct,
just
in
read
their conflicts and so on.
Okay, let me just read the back cover here. It says
Okay.
conflicts play an infinitely greater role in neurosis than is commonly assumed. To detect them, however, is no easy matter, partly because they are essentially unconscious, but even more because the neurotic goes to any length to deny their existence. Karen Horney proceeds to show how the neurotic tries to solve his fears of being split apart on the one hand and his need to function as a unity on the other. She develops a dynamic theory of neurosis centered on the basic conflict between the attitudes of moving toward, moving against, and moving away from people. An individual may be able to create a kind of artificial equilibrium, but new conflicts are generated and further remedies are required that can make the neurotic more hostile, more helpless, more fearful, and more alienated from himself and from others.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds like she's talking about.
one last point that she makes, which I think is very, very positive, and I believe it was very cutting edge for the time period.
What is the time period?
Well, let's see.
1940s?
Yeah,
Okay.
copyright 1945.
Go ahead.
When she herself stated that at the only time that was during that time, the Freudian theory was the only one being widely recognized in psychoanalysis, and she says, it says here, Dr. Horney makes it clear that in the hands of experts, I'm sorry, the severe neurotics can be helped. Unlike Freud, she does not regard neuroses as rooted in instinct. Unlike Freud, I'm sorry, I reread that. In her words, her theory is constructive because it allows us, for the first time, to tackle and resolve neurotic hopelessness. Neurotic conflicts cannot be resolved by rational decision. The neurotic's attempts at solution are not only futile but harmful. But these conflicts can be resolved by changing the conditions within the personality that brought them into being. And actually, it gets a thumbs up from Ashley Montague. It says this book represents a definite contribution to the theory and practice of psychoanalysis, which is at once intelligent, original, and stimulating.
Well, okay. Now, let us talk about that, though. The idea everyone has some level of neurotic tendency.
I don't believe that she was saying that.
Or
she was
that.
Saying a person.
Okay, it's the struggle then of the person to stay whole.
Who is neurotic?
The struggle of neurotic to stay whole.
No,
as
not
they
to
come,
stay whole.
Well, my understanding is you're saying they have the simultaneous tendency to pull away, and the fear of disintegration, and at the same time trying to move toward and to stay whole, and the idea that there is this feeling of alienation and
yes, when their neurosis is challenged, they go through a series of symptoms, like you were saying,
So how does one challenge these neuroses? How does one get the neurotic?
In conflicts. I mean, when people have conflicts, if you're a neurotic person, you're going to react in a variety of ways. Do you have any comment on this, Heather? She and I have discussed this actually
Mm.
over the phone. Heather?
I think everyone has a certain level of neuroses to some degree, varying degree. I think a large part of it is hereditary, and the other part of it is social and whatnot, and together sometimes they create a monster.
So you agree with Freud that instinctually neurosis?
Not always. Not always.
Oh, okay.
But I definitely believe that there are certain traits that are passed on from parent to child in the way of either
Nature versus nurture?
nature or nurture.
Well, I think the study of genetics in the last 50 years has shown that there's a deep relationship between our genetic composition and what we are susceptible to. I mean, certainly, it's not. I mean, it seems like we go through life and we might be subjected to a trigger, which may set off one of these tendencies or not. So it does appear to be more, more biological.
So you're thinking? So you're studying that since this book has been written, that there have been advancements in.
Sure. It's all a lot more. We realize that we're a lot more hardwired, biochemically and so on. Than it's not so simple as having an anal fixation as a
Yeah, like
youngster or
Freud
something.
would say, you had the Oedipus complex. I actually was reading about that. I remember you had mentioned Freud, and I had also seen this, on documentary that a lot of his theory was based on his molestation of his 14-year-old cousin or niece or something.
I guess
By
I've forgotten. By him? By he?
Yes.
By him?
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Now there may be some YouTubers that might dispute that, but yes.
Wow.
Whoa.
And you had told me that, so I don't know
I
why
told
you
you
don't
that?
remember that.
I don't
You
remember.
things that I don't remember, and then I remember things that you remember. So yes, I remember that.
Well, if I said it, it must be true.
Oh, I don't know about all that, but when I did see it again, I was like, wow, that was what you had.
Well, the one thing Freud did do is that, Freud, Darwin, and Marx, they did get us to look beyond the idea that we are simply the product of,
evolution?
No. It gave us a way of looking, of demystifying, of going behind the veil, so to speak. And for the first time, we could get an idea of heredity, an idea of the social forces, the psychological forces, indeed, that created individuals. So whatever point of deviation from Freud that she represents, I think that we should certainly recognize he deserves that much credit, at least.
Well, she points out some different types of consequences of unresolved conflicts.
What are some of the consequences? We have 1 minute and 10 seconds left.
Well, she points out fears, impoverishment of personality. I think personally that would mean you don't grow as a person.
Now, what is the role of government in facilitating a decent environment so that people can develop emotionally as emotionally healthy people?
I feel like I'm on CNN and you're like telling me I got 30 seconds to solve the world,
No. You have 45 seconds.
Poverty. And
well, we can pick it up in part 2, but I mean, let's set that up for the next one. This will be the question.
I believe that perhaps you may need to read a little bit of the book, if you don't mind.
So you don't want to answer my question?
Well, hey, I don't know. I mean, what kind of answer am I supposed to give you?
Well, I guess just
she
whichever one.
She doesn't address government's role. I mean,
no, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
What, oh, personally?
Yes.
Government's role would be very limited.
Society's role, government's role. We'll set that up for the next one. We're about to run out of time on this one, and we'll pick it up on reel number 2.
Bye.